You can have a look here, let's squeeze it, look at all that water coming out, soaking underneath there. So it was attached to this, but because of the moisture it separated. But the water running on the windscreen, taking apart the trim where the windscreen is, looking down underneath here, you can see how it's dripping through, not so much on that side there. Should that be a seal? It runs down inside this channel. I've cleaned it of all debris in there, then underneath the car it's coming out where it should do. So here's the HC pipe. This is the condenser pipe that goes through the floor. There's a little seal, as you can see, it's kind of really dirty and manky, and it's got a lot of water on it. Vents.
Let's move on, 'cause it's time to move on.
The back here is a tube, it's a condensation tube for the air conditioning. I'm going to try and get to it because I think that's where the source of the leak is coming from. I'm hoping not to have to take all this apart. Got a little tool here, and see if I can just pull these tabs off. And there might be enough space for me just to pull the carpet back, so I'm going to take the whole dashboard out. Now, these are just these little clips that you pull the pin out and then they come out in one. Let's lift this little door trim off. It's got clips on the bottom. Take your time, otherwise you end up snapping them. These little clips here, you can buy these on eBay if you break them. And then underneath the rubber trim, this little corner piece here. Let's try and get that out. Again, these little push-in plastic clips here, try not to break them. I've actually lost one there, and it's still on the panel, so I can try and take those off. Right, so now I've got that, hopefully I can pull the carpet back a bit easier. Yeah, certainly feels wet underneath there. Yeah, there's definitely moisture there. You know, the fact that there's this insulation here is great for keeping the sound down, but obviously it's going to absorb all the moisture if you get it, and it's come from underneath the carpet, which tells me that it's got to be coming from that tube. You can have a look here as I squeeze it, look at all that water coming out, soaking just underneath there. So let's try and pull this carpet up a bit further and see if I can get to that tube. There's a polystyrene piece here which kind of prevents the carpet from folding. Well, maybe if I take this polystyrene off, it was attached to this, but because of the moisture it's actually separated, so it could work to my advantage. Let's take that off. Right, so what I found is, you would think that the carpet would be separated from the other side. It's not. There's actually a joining piece that goes right the way over the centre part, which is why I can't pull this away, which is a little bit annoying. So now I've got to take out this part here, and I've got to take out this section here. Get this driver's side panel off. Okay. And then there's a screw here, because we've got to take this front face underneath the steering wheel off. Okay, there's one fixing point there, you just need to remove that. Right, the other fixing point is just down here. Okay, and there'll be one obviously on the other side as well, on the driver's side. This is the one on the back, driver's side. Oh, screw. Okay, maybe it's not like it. I think I might need a replacement screw in there. There it is. Obviously you've got one more on the passenger side as well. Okay. There we are. Right, so this gear, this handbrake section here is now separated. I'm going to see if I can slide that off. Maybe, they're my screws, I don't want to lose those, so let's cover that up. Aha, there we go. Put the handbrake up fully. Success! There we go. Now that that's out of the way, this one, I should just move out quite easy. Nearly there. There's a little clip in the middle and I can see somebody's tried to glue this. It's been broken before. So he's probably not realised there was a clip there, and that's it there. So that middle one, I might try and glue that back. You can just about see that there. There's one in the middle. This is what I've worked out so far. Just here, that there, that's your air conditioning condenser pipe. That's where all your wastewater goes as it starts to cool the car down or dry the air. That's your waste condensation pipe. Now, feeling it, I can feel that it's cold. I've got my AC on. It's definitely nice and cold. And underneath the car, I can see it dripping out. What I don't see is any leaks. There's no leaks at the bottom. The pipe is nice and all the way through the floor. I can actually feel the water running through it. So that's all good as it should be. I did notice one or two drips coming from the bottom here. This is your cabin filter, and that's okay, that's nice and dry. But this one next to it with the screws, there was definitely a couple of drips, and if I put my hand here, there is a little bit of water. Now I don't know whether that's coming in from outside, because I've got the hose on. Underneath the carpet, up the top here, this is all dry at the top. It's wet down here, you can see it's soaking. Absolutely soaking, see the water coming out of it. So, yes, it could have worked its way down through the back and just been sitting here, but I don't think it's coming from that tube, and I don't actually think it's coming from up where the window is. I've got a feeling it's coming from here. In fact, there was a little drip just as I did that. There's a tiny little drip coming from this. Now I've got a hose on the windscreen, so maybe it's working its way down and somehow getting in there. It runs down inside this channel. I've cleaned it of all debris in there and it looks okay. The water's running down, going into this little gap. Then underneath the car, it's coming out where it should do, so that's all good. With the water running on the windscreen, looking down underneath here, you can see how it's dripping through. Not so much on that side though. That side good. This side, let me just move the hose. Yeah, maybe it's okay. What I want to know is, where is that coming in with the car? Should that be a seal? I'm going to undo these screws and see what happens. You know what? I'll tell you, if you've managed to watch up to half of this video, thank you. I'm only a small YouTuber. I do this because I want to help people. So you know what I really hate is when you take a car to a garage, they charge you maybe 2-3 hours worth of labour, and then for what? You just don't know. And the whole point I set this channel up is to try and save you guys stress, time, most importantly money. Some of these solutions just take a little bit of thought, that's all they do. So look, if it's helped you, then give me the old thumbs up and consider subscribing. What it does, it helps my analytics to understand, are these videos actually helping people? And what I'm finding is the more people are actually advising me about different things, I'll do more of those types of videos. So here's the AC pipe. This is the condenser pipe that goes through the floor, and it all looks nice and dry. Looks nice and dry in there, and also underneath where it goes into the AC unit as well. That all looks good. Doesn't look to be any issues there. I can actually hear the water go through it. But here, just underneath here, you can see, look, there's a little bit of water just there. And I'm wondering if it's coming in from the outside through this cover. I've checked inside here. This is your filter for your cabin. It's nice and dry in there. That looks okay. It's your cabin filter. That's fine. Let's have a look in here and see. So what's really interesting here is that this cover, it's not the filter's on the back side here, that's the filter, but there's a little seal. As you can see, it's kind of pretty dirty and manky, and it's got a lot of water on it, and I'm wondering if the water from above was coming through, or if it's actually just the condensation which builds up over time, because this seal here, you can see the evidence mark where it was actually sitting on top of this piece of foam here, and it wasn't going around the edge. And I wonder if that's causing the water just to leak, and this drip over time, drip, 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 is then being going on the carpet. What I have noticed is, ever since I turned the air conditioning off and haven't put it on for a couple of weeks, the carpets have got really dry, and it's been raining. So it would suggest it's not coming from outside, and it could just be that this little tube here, by sheer poor manufacturing, was sat on top of that foam instead of being around here, because you can see how dirty this is. So I'm going to put this back in as it should do, and maybe that's what's causing my leak. You can see, look, you can see the water there just beading up underneath it, and I think that is just condensation, because this is your evaporator in here, which gets cold, and because I haven't been using the AC, obviously it hasn't been getting cold, but it's not being sealed and kept inside as it should do. So I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to put a little bit of sealant around there, put this back on again in the right place, not over the top there like that, and then I'm going to turn the AC on, drive it around for a few days and see how we get on. Oh, did you see that little drip there? That's exactly what I'm getting, that little drip. Doesn't look much, but when you're running along for a couple of hours each day, it can build up. And I think that's what's been soaking my carpets. Okay, making sure that this seal is back in its groove, because it wasn't. It was bridged across here, and that's what was causing the leak, I believe. So it goes back in this groove. I've put some sealant in it to get a nice seal. God. It gets stretched over the years because it's been deformed. I'm going to try and squeeze it in. There we go. That's all nice. That is all nice. That's good. Right, I'm going to put a bit more sealant on that and then get this back up. Okay. Yeah, nice bit of sealant on that. And a nice little bit at the back there. Yeah, that's going to be good. Make sure that little rubber seal is in there and actually doing what it should do. That seems to be that corner where it's coming loose, because where it's dripping in, because it's the lowest bit of the gravity where water's going to sit. So quite happy with that. Let's get this all bolted back up. Still see it dripping down there. sure they're nice and snug. Good. Let's see if that seals it. Right, get the rest of the screws on, put it back together again, put my car back together again. And look what's happening. It is coming through that vent there, which is for the cabin filter. So that bit's okay, but this vent here looks like it is coming over the top of the cabin filter. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, the cabin filter is pretty dry. It is pretty dry. Where is that coming from then? Looking up inside there, it is nice and dry. I'm really not convinced it's coming down inside there. Is your vents, and that's the condensation. That's where it's obviously dissipating the heat and the air. And I think it just builds up. I think it just builds up on the bottom there. And here we are, look, you can see it's draining out. And that is where the cabin air filter goes. I had thought it was coming in from the top where the air cabin filter goes, but I think it is just residual water. So I'm going to try and put a bit of sealant on here as well and see how we get on. Just putting a bit of sealant around the bottom here. See if that will prevent the water from coming out. It might do, it might help. So, been driving now for a good couple of weeks, and I've noticed, keep touching down by the old passenger carpet. Sorry if you're in the States, that's the driver's side. I wonder if the pipe actually is on the other side. I wonder if it's on the right hand side if you drive on the left. But it's a UK car driving on the right, and the carpet is dry. The mat is dry. Now underneath the mat, it was soaking before. Put my hand down there and I could feel it. But that's also dry. So that's really encouraging. And I honestly think, because it has been raining, that it is coming from the air conditioning unit. So the reason why I kind of focused on the AC and didn't spend so much time taking apart the trim where the windscreen is because I tested the AC with the AC off, and I was running around without any air conditioning. I mean, it's winter time, so you don't really need it, but air conditioning in the winter is really, really good because it obviously dries the air and stops the condensation. But because the AC was off, I noticed the carpets were getting really dry. And it started making me think, you know, maybe it's not leaking from outside, maybe it is just coming from the condenser pipe. So looking at the condenser pipe, there wasn't any problems with leaks there, everything looked good. But then I discovered the actual condenser itself, which is like a mini radiator, where the water collects and it should stay within the unit. It was just dripping through, and it was only the tiniest little drip. But it just goes to show that little drip can accumulate over time. It really can. So I think I've solved the problem. I've sealed it up. It was coming slightly through where the cabin filter is, and I've also sorted that one too. So I'll keep an eye on it, especially as the weather's getting warmer and the AC is being used more. But give it a go, and I really hope this helps you. Drop it below, let me know how you get on.
Let's move on, 'cause it's time to move on.